The Magical Bookstore. Welcome back to my channel. In this video, we learn English through a magical story. Today we'll read a concise version of The Magical Bookstore and practice useful English. Lily pressed her forehead against the cold window as the rain painted silver lines down the glass. The town looked different in the storm, quieter, almost secret. Her umbrella had broken earlier that day, so she hurried through the wet streets with her coat pulled tight. She passed the bakery, the flower shop, the tall library she loved, but on the corner of Willow Street something caught her eye. Between two old buildings stood a narrow wooden door with faded letters carved above it, the bookstore that time forgot. She blinked. She had walked this street 100 times, yet this shop had never been there. A warm golden light spilled through the window, and before she could think twice, she pushed the door open. A bell tinkled above her head, soft and musical, and the smell of old paper and cinnamon filled her nose. Shelves stretched higher than she could see, filled with books of every size and color. Dust motes danced in the light of a chandelier that looked older than the town itself. Behind the counter sat a man with silver glasses, his eyes twinkling like stars. "Welcome, Lily," he said before she could introduce herself. She froze. "How do you know my name?" The old man smiled. "You don't find this bookstore. The bookstore finds you." A black cat leapt from the counter and brushed against her leg. Its eyes gleamed with intelligence, as though it understood everything. Lily felt a shiver, half fear, half excitement. She wandered through the aisles, running her fingers across leather spines, titles she couldn't understand, languages she had never seen. One book glowed faintly on a pedestal in the corner. Its cover was golden, and in the center, written in elegant script, was her name, Lily Morgan. Her heart pounded. She whispered, "This can't be real." She turned to the shopkeeper. "Why does this book have my name?" He adjusted his glasses and replied softly, "Because this story belongs to you." Her hands trembled as she picked it up. The book was warm, almost alive. She carried it home that night, the rain still falling, the streets empty. In her room she opened the golden cover. The first page was blank. She frowned, then letters began to appear, glowing like fireflies. At this moment, the story begins. The room tilted, the air shimmered, and suddenly the letters rose from the page, swirling around her like a storm of light. She gasped as the words became shapes, the shapes became figures, and 3 characters stepped out, a tall knight in silver armor, a small dragon no bigger than a cat, and an owl with eyes brighter than the moon. At last, the knight said, bowing deeply, "Our reader has arrived." Lily backed away. "This isn't possible. Books don't come alive." The dragon tilted its head and smoke curled from its nose. "And yet, here we are. Care to join us?" Before she could answer, the floor dissolved, and she was falling into the book itself. She landed on soft grass beneath a purple sky where stars moved like living things. Towers of books rose like mountains in the distance, rivers of ink flowed, and letters floated through the air like butterflies. The owl perched on her shoulder. "Welcome to the kingdom of stories," it whispered. Lily stared in wonder. All around her, characters from every tale walked and laughed, pirates with treasure maps, princesses with crowns of flowers, animals that talked, heroes with glowing swords. A queen dressed in silver robes approached, her voice calm and powerful. "Every story that has ever been told lives here. But beware, child, for stories can die when they are forgotten." As she spoke, Lily saw a dark fog creeping along the horizon. The letters it touched dissolved into nothing, pages turned blank, voices fell silent. The queen's eyes darkened. "That is the shadow of forgetting. It grows stronger each day. If we cannot stop it, stories will vanish forever." Lily's chest tightened. "But, why me? I'm just a girl." The knight placed a hand on his sword. "Because you believe. Only a true reader, one who loves stories, can fight the forgetting." The dragon flapped its wings and added, "And because the book chose you." Lily took a deep breath, the golden book still glowing in her hand. She didn't feel ready, but something inside her whispered that she was meant to be here. The queen lifted her staff and pointed toward the dark fog. "The journey will be dangerous. You must travel through the story worlds, learn their lessons, and protect them. Only then can you face the shadow." Lily nodded slowly. The owl tightened its claws on her shoulder. The knight drew his sword. The dragon snorted sparks. The adventure had begun. The path before them was made of paper. Each step rustled as if they were walking across the pages of a giant book. Words glowed faintly under Lily's shoes, shifting and changing as she moved forward. She glanced down and realized the words were sentences from stories she had once read in her bedroom late at night. The knight walked beside her, tall and steady. His armor gleamed, though it carried scratches like old memories. "My name is Sir Cedric," he said gently. "I was written in a story long ago, but I have lived here since the last reader closed my book." The dragon trotted happily at her feet. It sneezed, sending tiny sparks into the air. "I'm Ember," it announced proudly. "Small but mighty." The owl blinked slowly, its feathers shimmering with silver. "I am Solon. I have guarded this kingdom for centuries." Lily felt her heart swell with nervous excitement. She had dreamed of adventures, but now that she was in one, it felt overwhelming. She asked in a shaky voice, "Where are we going?" Sir Cedric raised his sword toward the horizon, where the dark fog pulsed like a living shadow. The queen spoke truly. The shadow of forgetting eats away at stories. To stop it, we must travel through the story worlds and keep their memories alive. The first place lies just ahead, the jungle of whispers. As they approached, the air grew heavy with the scent of wet leaves and wild fruit. Vines dangled from enormous trees, and strange sounds echoed all around. Birds with feathers like gems darted overhead, while monkeys swung from branch to branch, chattering in riddles. One monkey landed in front of Lily, blocking the path. Its eyes sparkled with mischief. "To pass," it said, "you must answer our question. Fail, and the jungle will swallow your steps." Lily swallowed hard. "What's the question?" The monkey grinned. "What belongs to you, but is used more by others than by yourself?" She frowned, thinking quickly. Cedric placed a hand on her shoulder. Ember paced nervously. Sullen whispered, "Think carefully. The jungle thrives on puzzles." Lily remembered how often her classmates teased her by saying her name out loud. Her eyes lit up. "My name," she answered. The monkey clapped its hands, delighted. "Correct. You may pass." The jungle parted before them, a pathway of glowing green leaves stretching deeper into the forest. Lily felt a burst of pride. She had solved it. She wasn't just a bystander, she was part of this adventure. They walked for hours through the jungle of whispers. Voices floated in the trees, half warnings, half songs. The shadows tried to confuse her, but each time she stumbled, her companions guided her forward. Finally, they reached a clearing where an ancient tree rose high above everything else. At its base, words were carved into the bark. They glowed faintly but were fading fast. Pages lay scattered around the roots, blank and empty. "This tree," Sullen whispered, "is the heart of the jungle story. If it goes silent, the entire tale will vanish." Lily touched the bark. The words flickered weakly, like dying stars. She remembered the golden book in her hands. It vibrated, waiting. She opened it, and a blank page appeared. The tree's words slowly lifted off the bark and flowed into her book, glowing brighter as they settled onto the page. The jungle sighed, alive again. Birds sang louder, flowers bloomed brighter, and the whispers became laughter. The story was safe. Cedric smiled. "You saved this place." Lily looked at the glowing book. "I didn't know I could do that." "You are the reader," Sullen said. "You carry stories in your heart. As long as you remember them, they live." The group left the jungle, and the path of paper formed once more beneath their feet. But the shadow in the distance seemed closer now, hungrier. After a long walk, the land changed again. The trees gave way to an endless sea, black and glimmering under a silver moon. A ship bobbed on the waves, its sails patched with pieces of parchment. A skull and crossbones flag fluttered at the top of the mast. "Pirates," Ember muttered. "This will be fun." A rope ladder dropped over the side, and they climbed aboard. The deck smelled of salt and smoke. Rough voices filled the air, and pirates with long coats and feathered hats gathered around. Their leader, a tall woman with a scar across her cheek, stepped forward. "Welcome to the Inkspire," she said with a grin. "If you want to sail with us, you must solve the riddle of the sea." Lily sighed. "Another riddle. What is it this time?" The pirate captain's eyes gleamed. "Tell me this, the more of me you take, the more you leave behind." "What am I?" Lily thought hard. Cedric frowned. Amber curled its tail around her ankle, nervous. Sullen tilted his head. She pictured herself walking home in the rain, leaving wet marks on the ground. Suddenly she smiled. "Footsteps," she said. The captain threw back her head and laughed. "A clever one. You're right. Footsteps." The pirates cheered, and drums began to beat. The ship's sails filled with wind, and it carried them across the glowing Black Sea. But the joy did not last long. As they sailed, a thick fog rose from the horizon. It was darker than the night, and it carried silence with it. The shadow of forgetting was here. The pirates panicked as letters began to peel off their ship's sails, disappearing into the air. Pages from their maps turned white, and songs on their lips faded mid-verse. "Hold fast!" Cedric shouted. He drew his sword, but no blade could cut the fog. Lily gripped the golden book, heart racing. She opened it, and words leapt from its pages, creating sparks of light. The fog hissed and pulled back slightly, but it pressed forward again. The captain grabbed Lily's arm. "Your book, it fights the shadow. Keep writing, girl." Her hand shook as she picked up a quill that appeared inside the book. She wrote the word hope. The word burst into flame and lit the deck. She wrote courage, and the sails mended themselves. She wrote friendship, and the pirates' songs returned. The fog shrieked and retreated into the night, leaving the sea calm again. The captain bowed to Lily. "You've given us back our story. We'll never forget you." Lily smiled, though her hands still trembled. She had faced the shadow and survived this time. But deep inside, she knew it was only the beginning. The sea slowly faded behind them as the paper path stretched forward again. The pirates waved from their ship, their songs echoing across the waves, and Lily felt stronger now than when she had first stepped into this strange world. Still, the shadow lingered in her mind, its hunger for silence reminding her that danger was never far away. The path wound through a field of silver grass that shimmered under the moonlight. Ahead, tall trees rose, their trunks twisted like ribbons. Golden lanterns floated among the branches, glowing softly. The air smelled sweet, like honey and roses. "The fairy tale forest," Sullen said, his voice hushed. "Every story told to children in whispers before bed lives here. Be careful. It is beautiful, but beauty can be deceiving." As they stepped into the forest, Lily felt wonder stir inside her. She saw cottages made of sugar, streams that sparkled like diamonds, and tiny figures with wings darting through the flowers. A glass slipper sat abandoned on a stone, glowing faintly. A spinning wheel leaned against a tree, its needle shining dangerously. Everywhere she looked, pieces of fairy tales lived and breathed. But not everything looked perfect. Some cottages had holes in their roofs, some flowers had lost their colors, and the glass slipper had cracks running through it. The shadow had touched this place too. They came upon a circle of children sitting under a great oak tree. Their faces were pale, their voices silent. In front of them lay a princess in a white gown, fast asleep on a bed of leaves. Her golden hair shimmered faintly, but her chest rose and fell so slowly Lily wondered if she was breathing at all. "She has been sleeping for too long," Cedric whispered. "The story is fading." Ember huffed out a small flame. "Can't we just wake her up?" Solon shook his head. "It is not so simple. The curse is bound to the forgetting. If we cannot bring the story back to life, the princess will vanish, and the children will lose their dreams." Lily knelt beside the princess. She remembered fairy tales told to her when she was small, of princesses awakened by courage, kindness, or love. She opened the golden book and waited. Letters rose from the pages, rearranging into a question: what makes a story live forever? Her hands trembled. She thought of the jungle, the pirates, the queen. She thought of nights spent reading by flashlight, losing herself in worlds of wonder. Finally, she whispered, "Stories live forever when they are remembered." The letters glowed brighter. She leaned close to the princess and whispered in her ear, "We remember you. We believe in you." The princess stirred. Her eyes fluttered open, and a golden light spread through the forest. Flowers regained their colors, the cottages rebuilt themselves, and the children laughed and clapped, their voices filling the air once more. The princess sat up, her cheeks pink with life. "Thank you, child," she said softly. "You have reminded us that belief is stronger than forgetting." Lily felt tears prick her eyes. She had not expected such power to come from something as simple as remembering, but she understood now that stories only die when people stop telling them. The group continued deeper into the forest. Night deepened, and the golden lanterns flickered like watchful eyes. The path led them to a clearing where a mirror taller than Cedric stood alone. Its surface rippled like water. As they approached, the mirror glowed and spoke in a voice that was both gentle and cruel. "To pass, you must face what you fear most." Cedric stiffened. "A test." Lily's reflection shimmered, and suddenly she saw herself standing alone, clutching the golden book. Cedric, Ember, Solon, gone. The forest behind her had vanished, and the shadow of forgetting towered over her, vast and endless. She screamed for help, but no one answered. Her chest tightened. This was her fear, being left alone, powerless, unable to protect the stories she loved. She clutched the book tightly and whispered, "I'm not alone. Not while stories live inside me." The mirror cracked, then shattered, vanishing into mist. The forest returned, her companion standing at her side. Cedric placed a steady hand on her shoulder. "You were brave." Amber purred and twined around her ankle. "You beat it." Solon nodded. "Each step you take proves you are the one chosen by the book." They pressed on until they reached the edge of the forest. There, beyond the trees, the ground fell away into nothing. In the distance, the shadow spread like a storm, swallowing stars and words alike. It pulsed and shifted, a living void. Lily shivered. "It's getting stronger." Cedric's face hardened. "The final battle is near." Amber's flame flickered low, and Solon's wings trembled. The closer they drew to the shadow, the weaker the world around them became. Colors drained from the trees, sounds grew muffled, and even the ground felt thin beneath their feet. Still, Lily held the golden book tight. She didn't know how she would fight the shadow, but she knew she couldn't turn back. Every step she took was for the jungle, for the pirates, for the princess, for every story she had ever loved. At last they reached the border where light ended and darkness began. The shadow loomed tall, shapeless and endless, a hunger that wanted only silence. It spoke in a voice like wind tearing through an empty library. "Child of stories, you cannot stop me. All readers forget. All tales fade. You will forget too." Lily's knees shook, but she raised the golden book high. "Maybe some are forgotten. But as long as one person remembers, a story can live." The shadow hissed and surged forward, and the battle for the kingdom of stories began. The shadow of forgetting towered over them, a storm of black mist swirling with silence. Every step it took erased the ground, leaving behind empty nothingness. Letters peeled off the trees and vanished into the air. Stars flickered out one by one. Lily's hands shook as she clutched the golden book to her chest. Amber growled, sparks flying from its nose. Cedric raised his sword, though its silver glow seemed faint against the darkness. Solon spread his wings wide, but even his feathers dulled as the shadow crept closer. The voice of the shadow echoed, cold and endless. "I am stronger than memory. I am the silence that follows every story. You cannot fight what all readers must face." They close their books, they forget, and I grow. Lily's throat felt tight. For a moment, she wanted to run. But then she remembered the jungle that bloomed with laughter, the pirates singing on their ship, the princess who awoke with belief. Each had trusted her. Each was alive again because she remembered them. Her fear melted into something brighter. She opened the golden book, and words flew from the pages like fireflies. They circled her, glowing stronger with each breath she took. The shadow hissed. "Your words are weak." "They are not weak," Lily whispered. "They are alive." The shadow surged forward, striking like a wave of night. Cedric leapt in front, his sword blazing as he blocked the attack. Ember spat fire, driving the darkness back for a moment. Sullen swooped low, his wings scattering sparks of silver light. But the shadow pressed harder, its silence overwhelming their voices, its weight crushing their strength. Lily fell to her knees. The book trembled in her hands. Pages turned blank faster than she could write. Desperation filled her chest. "What do I do?" she cried. The Queen's voice echoed in her memory. "As long as people read and tell stories, no story is ever truly forgotten." She realized then the book was not only hers. It needed every voice, every memory. She stood tall and shouted, "Say their names. Remember them." Cedric raised his sword and called, "The jungle of whispers." Ember roared, "The pirates of the Inkspire." Sullen's voice rang, "The princess of the forest." The words spun out of them, glowing brighter than stars. Lily added her own. "Every story I have ever loved, every hero, every dream, every world, they live because we believe." The book burst open, light pouring out like a sunrise. The words Lily had ever read, even the small ones, filled the air: hope, courage, love, friendship, adventure, wonder. The shadow shrieked, writhing against the light. Its voice faltered. "Stories fade, readers forget. I will return." But Lily wrote one last word, in letters so bright they burned the sky, "Forever." The light exploded, washing over the darkness. The shadow dissolved, scattering like ash in the wind. Silence was replaced by song, emptiness by laughter. The kingdom of stories glowed again, every tale restored, every voice alive. Lily collapsed, exhausted but smiling. Cedric helped her to her feet, his eyes filled with pride. Ember curled at her side, warm and purring softly. Sullen perched on her shoulder, whispering, "You did it, child. You reminded us that stories do not end when the last page closes. They live in the heart of the reader." The Queen appeared once more, her silver robe shining. She bowed to Lily. "You have saved us. But your journey is not over. The book will always call to you, for as long as stories are told." Lily looked down at the golden book, still glowing faintly in her hands. She smiled. "I'll never stop reading." The world around her shimmered, fading like mist at dawn. She gasped and found herself back in her bedroom, the rain tapping gently on the window. The golden book lay open on her desk, its pages filled with glowing words. For a moment, she wondered if it had all been a dream. Then a soft sound made her turn. Ember, the tiny dragon, perched on her bookshelf, its eyes twinkling with firelight. It winked at her. Lily laughed, joy bursting in her chest. She opened the book again, ready for the next adventure. Because she knew now every time she opened a story, she stepped into a world that would never be forgotten.